And hello. Welcome to the Absolute Football Podcast. It is the Absolutely Premier League show. It's a Monday again, and I'm here with a wonderful team to talk about wonderful Premier League football because we've got one of those horrible international breaks coming up that nobody likes. So we're going to take as much advantage to talk Premier League football as we can tonight. So I've got two absolute legends of the pod. Well, a founding legend of our FCA nominated award podcast. Absolute Football Podcast legend Charlotte is here. How are you, Charlotte? How's your weekend?
I'm really good, thank you. Thank you for having me as well. I love coming on the Premier League show because I feel like I'm just a neutral. I can just sit, enjoy every moment, not get stressed about anything. So it's good to be back, and I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing very well. It is. It's lovely. That's why I come on your EFL show as well, because I can just sit there. Everyone gets emotional when I sit, and I'm just chilling. I'm in my slippers with my pipe, going. None of this hurts me. It's all very fun, but none of it hurts me. This one hurts me sometimes, but we'll come to that later. And it's not just our fantastic Charlotte. We have our fantastic Rebecca, unbeaten Rebecca. Rebecca never to cover an Everton loss again. She's here again. How are you doing today, Rebecca?
I'm very good, thank you. Bit tired. It's been a long day of trains to uni and back, but yeah, all good. Glad to be back on. And I know it's not the EFL show, but I'm in a good mood because Aki got their first win. It was just a good Saturday for me.
I know, epic Saturday, and that's the education of the future. You see, the trains, the work you put in to get the union back. It'll all be worth it, Rebecca. It'll all be worth it. And of course, we're lucky enough. It's not just us. There's some fantastic people in the chat. Spenny fan Chris is here. Good evening, all. Welcome to you, Chris. He's of course straight away with our Vidi printer Chris, as I like to call him. Bradford nil, Newport nil. Currently the latest in League Two. Obviously, some EFL ramifications, and obviously it's Kieran's favourite away day as well. If you watch the EFL pod, massive fan of Bradford away is Kieran. Welcome, good evening to Graham as well. Thank you for being with us, Graham. Good evening to Sean is here as well, and good evening to Husky Man as well. Definitely two legends there. I completely concur and agree. So shall we get into some Premier League football? Premier League, and this is one I know that Shah is really excited to talk about because this team have not one that we usually feature straight off the bat. Who would have said Brentford versus Wolves would be the one first to go to? But once again, Brentford kickoff, a bit longer this time, a bit slow with their first goal. The second minute they scored this week. That's the fourth week in a row they've scored in the first minute. Charlotte, tell me all about how wonderful Brentford are, winning 5-3 against Wolves.
Honestly, well, the game itself, an 8-goal thriller. I mean, when you look at this one on paper, it's usually one of them games where a lot of people and a lot of neutrals think, oh, Brentford Wolves, like, it's got 1-1, 0-0 written all over it. But wow, I mean, Brentford, Ivan Toney, who? I mean, and Buemo especially, like, he's really stepped up. But just the squad itself, they've really stepped up, and it's as if they really don't miss Ivan Toney. And it was one of them with me at the start of the season. I thought, he scores goals, Ivan Toney. He is like the main man. But a bit like what happened with Tottenham and Harry Kane, it's as if like Thomas Frank and his recruitment and just the style of football they're playing at the minute is very exciting, and it's really exciting me. And obviously, scoring 5 goals is absolutely phenomenal. Wolves' point of view as well, I don't want to just big up Brentford, because from an attacking point of view for Wolves, I think they've got a real good force, especially for Brazilian lads. And Kuna, I've been a massive fan of Kuna, and I remember seeing it on the preview show. Like, what a guy. I've got him in my fantasy team as well because he's just very dangerous. And I just love him himself. He is one of them players that really does excite me when I watch him. I just feel with Wolves at the minute, and I know we all mentioned it when we were doing our predictions for the season, they play some really good stuff. They play a lot of fluid and attractive football, especially the attackers, but I feel the defenders are really, really letting them down at the minute. I know they've obviously lost a couple of defenders. I know Craig Dawson's obviously aging now. As much as I love Craig Dawson, he's not got the legs anymore. And I just feel like that's what's really letting Wolves down at the minute. I know they are bottom of the league, and people probably in the chat or people watching this will think, why are you bigging them up so much? Because they are bottom of the league. But I feel like if they do recruit some players in January, or if they do play the kind of football they're playing and they're adapting a little bit better, and the defence kind of get on board as well, Wolves will be a real force. And I know we were saying off air as well, they've had a really tough start, haven't they, to be fair to them? And they are giving people a game, they are scoring goals. I just think we need to sort that defence out. But yeah, Brentford, phenomenal. And they're scoring goals constantly at the minute, and they really excite me. And it was one of them where I predicted Brentford to be quite far down because I didn't know what to expect. And so far, they are proving me wrong. And Thomas Frank is proving me wrong.
He certainly is having a stunning start stunning start to the season for Brentford. And as you said, like Ivan Toney going, and then Mbeumo did this last season as well, didn't he? Yeah. When Toney went out, and Mbeumo was certainly the one that they turned to, as well as Johan Visser, and obviously Johan Visser injured as well, so they've had to cope with that change, and it hasn't really affected. For me, what I liked about this weekend is so far, Mbeumo and Visser have been the guys to score the goals. If it's not them, and they haven't really hit the net, and particularly where they score early, that was kind of it. But there was 5 different scorers at the weekend, so they all got in on that. They all got in on the act. They're clinical as well. They're top. I was looking. They're top of the table in terms of shot on target percentage, and and goals per shot as well is their top of the table as well. So when they are getting their chances, they're not mucking about. They're taking them. I had a 1-1 draw with West Ham last week. The 3 games that Brentford have lost have been away at Liverpool, away at Tottenham, and away at Man City. So, for Brentford, they're games that you wouldn't expect them to win. But in each of those, I think they gave them a bit of a tough time as well. And I just think, Brian Mbeumo's got 6 goals. And I think I saw a stat or something. He's almost like 1 in 2 he contributes in his entire time at Brentford. He's such a fantastic player, I think. But it's been really interesting because I think Thomas Frank has changed a little bit of what they're doing as well this season. They've used, I think, the signing of Vandenberg, the guy they got from Liverpool, actually. Yeah. And he's playing him as kind of inverted foot, and it's making such a difference in terms of them getting on the ball. And they already have that high press and energy and everything else like that. And they're becoming a really fun side again, which is kind of what we all liked about Brentford when they originally came up, wasn't it?
100%.
Yeah, so they are absolutely smashing it. We'll get to Wolves in a minute because we've got a Vidi Printer update. Bradford won.
Kieran won't be on. No, he won't be on Thursday.
Won't be seeing him at the minute. Miss in person. Monday night at Bradford. Not going well for Kieran so far. We'll see how the rest of that goes. So Chris says as well on Wolves, I've heard Wolves have only got 6 points and 51 total points. That's some crazy stat. That's a crazy stat. They've conceded 21 goals in 7 matches. 3 goals a game. As you said, the defence is a real kind of problem. Rebecca, if you caught much of Wolves, what do you think of Wolves so far? Do you agree that the defence is the problem and that the attack, when they get some easier fixtures, less hard fixtures might help them out?
Yeah, I think as soon as they are able to get the defence playing how we know Wolves can play, and it's as soon as they're able to solidify the defence, they do have a very strong attack, and we saw that against Brentford. For them to be able to score 3 in that match and still hold Brentford to a good match, it just showed that they do have positivity going forward. It is just the defence that unfortunately is letting them down. But I feel as though them being at the bottom doesn't reflect on Wolves. It's one of them where they have got the struggles and they have got that, but there's no way Wolves should be at the bottom. And I feel as though it's an odd one for them, but they are giving good matches. They're proving that they are good enough going forward. I think as soon as they get that defence sorted, they'll be off. And I do think 1 win, and it'll be like with Everton, 1 win and you're gone. And you just keep progressing from there. So I feel as though 1 win and get another. Have they won yet? I don't know. I can't remember.
They've only got 1 point.
No, only 1 point, yeah.
So get a win under the belt and then they'll keep going. And I think that's what they need to be able to get the confidence in the defence is get that win and they'll be flying, I think.
So they just need something to kind of get a foothold. They need to somewhere. They need to ground themselves. They need to land themselves. And talking of people that have landed, Absolute Josh is in Budapest. He's just landed, but our very own Budapest, Mr. Josh is here. We're always missing you, mate. Hope you're all good as well, and I hope you're enjoying a lovely, lovely time away with the lady, and enjoying your break. Other people in the chat as well. Driti's with us as well, and of course 1-0 to the mighty Bradford. Andy Cook, the legend that is. We're all Bradford tonight. We're all Bradford tonight. Gotta be done. So, Char, on Wolves, obviously the attack you think is quite good, and things you think will come through. Where are you with Gary O'Neill at the moment? Because obviously he had that. I think he exceeded expectations last season. I know that depending on where you sit on the whole Bournemouth thing, and I know Heather's not here yet. She says she may be here later and have a view on Gary O'Neill. I'm sure. Where do you sit with O'Neill? Do you think he's under some real pressure, or do you think they'll give him time to work it out?
I think managers, especially in the Premier League, are always under pressure, aren't they? It's like a business. And if obviously you are struggling and you don't get the time anymore, like we've said, managers in the past get the time. But I think with O'Neill and the football, to be fair, that he is bringing to Wolves, and the players that they're managing to recruit as well, who I think are absolutely brilliant talents. As I said, there's Kuna, there's the lad they signed, I cannot remember his name, in a transfer window, what a lot of clubs were after. I think he's another Brazilian lad as well. Cannot remember his name. I think he's is he a defensive midfielder? But anyway, it will come to me.
Is it that Andre? Is it Andre?
That's the one. Yes, that's him. But these players that they're recruiting as well, and the style of football that O'Neill's playing, I think is really attractive. Like I said, it needs time. Obviously, they've got a lot of new players, and I just think they need that defender and to get the defenders on board, because I think the style of football that they play and they are trying to do is more of the modern style of football that a lot of teams are trying to play now, and the more attractive style of football that maybe we've not seen them play in the past. But I just feel like with the defenders, they have got some aging defenders. And obviously, the lad from it was West Ham he went to, wasn't it? The defender, what was he called?
Max Kilman, yeah.
Yeah, Kilman, obviously, he's a massive miss as well to that to Wolves. But I just think if we can get some recruitments or kind of tighten up that back line and not concede as many goals, then just stick with O'Neill. And I know it like Chris said as well, it doesn't look good, like what they've got and the points from the games. But I just feel like they do need to stick with him at the minute, because I do feel like Wolves will always, like in the games and stuff, they just need to tighten up that defence if they can. Because scoring and attacking, they're very attractive, and they're scoring some really good stuff, and they're having chances every game. So I feel like they are really a force up front. I just feel like they do leak a lot of goals, but I think it's just them adapting to this style of play.
They need to get this balance, don't they? Because as you said earlier about Cunha, I think he's fantastic. I mean, he's one I wouldn't have minded, to be honest. I think he offers a lot, not just goals, but his general play. He had a good goal scoring record at Atletico Madrid as well. Yeah. Cunha, he's a good, strong player. Chris confirms it is Andre from Fluminense.
Yes.
The Brazilian Fluminense. Not what you find at a swimming pool, a Fluminense football this one. And we've also got, Graham says, if Rob Edwards can be under pressure at Luton, then Dove manager is safe. So yeah, everyone, and it is.
Don't remind me, Graham. Don't remind me.
It always worries me this week, because this is the graveyard for managers. This international break, the October one, someone's had a bit of time to settle, and people think if you're not in the right direction, you've got to sort it out. Ben Austin is here, our super Ben, my crew. Love to Ben in the chat is with us. And we have a first time listener as well. Ian says, joining for the first team. Go Shah. Yes, go Shah. Go Shah. So, yeah, it's not looking good from a Wolves perspective. Brentford looking that kind of little bit better. Currently sat in 11th place at the moment. So they've got to go to Old Trafford next, which is not kind of the fortress it used to be, unfortunately. So I'm a little bit concerned, simply as we don't switch on sometimes. So expect that first 90 seconds. I might be hid behind the sofa, I think, to hope for the best. No Graham, no waistcoats.
Graham, you know what happened on Thursday's show? Don't open your mouth.
Don't start. He's on a cruise. I think Gareth has earned himself a very long cruise until all of this has blown over. And
that's a long break.
Long break.
Like Roy. He's gone visiting Roy Hodgson.
That'd be lovely. I think that would be a great sitcom. All these old managers. Could you imagine? They'd be like Benidorm, and you could have Hodgson Sam Allardyce,
Neil Warnock.
Neil Warnock. What a show that would be! Just
Tony
all on
Pulis.
a cruise ship. Tony Pulis, all the legendary managers.
Love it.
This is what we need.
I'd watch it anyway.
Yeah. And Kieran's here with his analysis of the Newport game, and you can read that in the chat. Not looking good.
You won't hear about it on Thursday because they lose and he will not be on.
He's gonna tail between his legs. There's still a half a football to go, though. Who knows?
True.
Who knows what's going to happen?
Might concede another.
They might concede another. The last thing I wanted to touch on for Brentford before we move on to other things as well. There's a number of players in that squad, I think, that don't kind of get the credit that they deserve because they all kind of blend into one a bit. I think there's all these kind of Danish midfielders, and one in particular, I mean, they've obviously got Matthias Jensen's out injured at the minute, but Christian Norgard, I think, is someone that's really important to how they play, and he missed. But I think because you've kind of got him, everyone sort of sees them all as the same person. You've got Norgard, Jensen, what's his name, Vitaly Janelt. They've got who's the other guy they've got in there? There's a Damsgaard as well. People kind of forget, and there is some really talented players amongst them. So do you think now that Thomas Frank has put these all together, Sharp, Pep Guardiola said the other week he thinks it's a matter of time before he gets a big European job, with no disrespect to Brentford, of course. But do you see that? Do you see that someone eventually and Frank's going to try and take that step? And if so, where do you think would be a good step for Thomas Frank?
I think so, to be fair. I think it's quite similar to, it reminds me very much of like the Unai Emery kind of thing. But I just think with Thomas Frank, a bit similar to Unai Emery, whether too much of a step up could kind of not damage him, but kind of put him under pressure. Because we know with the bigger clubs and stuff, they don't get the time. And I feel like with Unai Emery in particular, he's kind of found his feet. So if I was Thomas Frank, I would probably stay at Brentford for a little bit longer and try and progress them, because we can see them getting better and better each season, to be fair to them. And I think now the players that they've got and the recruitment and stuff, and just the way that he's got them gelling. And like you said, it's not just one standout player, as much as we said about Mbeumo, and we've obviously said about Wissa as well. And they do get the credit because they're scoring the goals, but there's a lot of unsung heroes in that squad, and they're more of a team, whereas you see individuals at other clubs and it's kind of like they were kind of we always thought of them as an individual team when they had Ivan Toney, because he was like the star man. And I feel like with this now and the way he's got them playing and just with the players that they've got, I would actually like to see him stay there and see if they could get European football, because now I think is a perfect time, because as much as we say it is very competitive, the Premier League, Newcastle at the minute aren't cut out to what they were a couple of seasons ago. Obviously you've got West Ham competing as well, but I think they're quite vulnerable, and I think this could be a perfect time. And I know Brighton came back, but Brighton have been a bit like temperamental as well, haven't they, at times? But I just think now's a perfect chance for them to kind of build on that and see what they can achieve. And I would love to see Brentford get European football. I really would. I think it'd be really good to see. I think he deserves it as well, Thomas Frank.
I think he doesn't. I think it would be really good for the league structure as well, because seeing how Brentford have come up through the league structure to kind of prove, like kind of Brighton did, that you can get there. There is a hope to reach those levels. Rebecca, just quickly on, so we'll go on from Brentford, but obviously you finished just ahead of Brentford last season. So for you, how do you see Brentford, considering? Do you still see them as? Do you think this is a blip, and from an Everton perspective, you can jump back above them and they'll be brought back in, or do you think Brentford are now destined for bigger things?
I think the development of Brentford, it just shows like last season where they ended up. But then I feel as though like the start of this season and their setup and everything with Thomas Frank has further developed. And I feel as though, like as Charlotte was saying, his time at Brentford isn't up and it won't be up for a while, and he can take Brentford further. So it's one of them. I don't see Brentford coming back down to where Everton are temporarily, because we're on the move up. But I feel as though Brentford are going to be ones to look out for in like the top half of the table this year.
Looks positive for them. It looks positive for them. They could
probably
do a
jinx them
business.
now.
I was just
Probably
going to
jinx
say that. I
You watch-
apologise to any Brentford fans if it all goes bad. It's not on us.
You watch them go on a 5-match losing streak now, so you know.
You'll be happy if it's United.
It starts at Old
game,
Trafford. Look, I'll take whatever I can get at the minute. And as Ben says, yeah, we'll come on to that later. The old god did do the bod. Evans turning into prime Maldini, and Graham says Maldini has a poster of Evans on his wall. Of course he does.
Exactly.
Johnny's a legend. Anyone would be lucky to have Johnny Evans. But next up, we're going to go to. I wasn't sure if we were going to have a Tottenham fan on the show tonight, so I was thinking, I may need to be, but as we don't, well, Tottenham capitulated, didn't they? They were 2-0 up against Brighton on Sunday, and it all came crashing down. I think I commented on Twitter something to the effect of a rich tea biscuit in hot cup of tea alert. Tottenham have absolutely sunk.
I love it.
Absolutely fallen over. Shah, you did catch some of that game, Brighton versus Tottenham Hotspur. Should we start with Brighton? What are you making of Brighton? Danny Welbeck's another of these legendary strikers he's becoming.
Honestly, I love Brighton. I think, just watching them, kind of a bit similar to Brentford, the way they've gone upon the leagues, and Southampton as well. They've built themselves, and they're a well-established club now, Brighton. And as we've seen, the recruitment, I think, is absolutely phenomenal. Some of the players that they've got, and I tweeted it yesterday, Matoma, I could watch Matoma all day. I think he's just such a phenomenal footballer. And yeah, honestly, these are the teams that I'd love and sit and watch. As much as I love watching your Arsenal, obviously Manchester United were back in the day, and teams like that. I love watching your Brentfords and your Brightons and stuff. And honestly, that comeback was brilliant. I know, obviously, with Spurs, it was just typical Spurs and they kind of crumbled. But Brighton, and the way they fought as well. And I feel with Brighton, they never give up. You can never, ever write Brighton off. They never give up. But yeah, Danny Welbeck as well. The goals he's scoring. And the way the manager, because the manager's only just come in as well, has got them playing at the minute. And I really do like watching Brighton, and I think they'll be a force this season. I know they already have been, and they've had quite a good start, haven't they? But yeah, with players like Matoma, and I just feel like every season the recruitment gets better and better.
It does, and it was a very different transfer window this year. They kind of did things differently because they spent a lot of money, but they didn't spend anything this previous season. So it's almost like they've kind of worked on this 2-year cycle. So they did a lot of replacing of players. And I think as Ian says in the chat, so one of them was Jorginho Rutter as well. He said he's a Leeds fan, seeing him do was mixed feeling, but it was against Spurs. So I suppose that makes him a little bit happier.
Now Pedro being injured as well. They've scored 3 without João Pedro being there. And I feel like they don't just rely on one player, similar to Brentford. It's a mix of them, and they're a team as well.
It's exactly that. They're such a squad, because just looking through the names of people that have scored this season for them, and you've got people like Adingra, doesn't always play, sometimes comes off. They've got this new guy in Kuba Minter that came from Newcastle, who looks another player, very exciting. They've got, say, Rutter that comes in and he can now bits. You've still got Matoma there. We haven't seen Solly March for a season and a bit. Remember how good he was alongside Matoma that season a bit with kind of his injuries. Yeah. They didn't have, is it Van Heck as well at the centre-back, who's one of their better players as well. So they were struggling without sort of having him. Estepinan's just come back in. He hasn't been in the fold for ages. They do
Forgot about him. I had him last season in my team.
Yeah, he's another that I think came back yesterday. And they just seem to, they rotate really well and just have a real kind of positive. They're quite up and down. And I think that's probably some of where last season I felt was largely European football. I think had that kind of impact, and they are a team you're not always sure what you're kind of going to get. I mean, against Chelsea last week, they looked completely open, and they got Cole Palmer's, didn't they? To be fair, but they conceded a lot of chances, and games will be open. But they're such a threat. They're such a threat attacking, as both Rebecca and I can attribute to, because we've both been on the wrong end of a Brighton result already this season. But say they got that draw at Arsenal. Apart from the Chelsea loss, they're doing well. They're sat in 6th place, so it's a really good start so far for Brighton. Rebecca, what are you making so far with a Brighton? Are they a team that you enjoy to watch?
Apart from against us, yeah. Yeah. I mean, that match to see Spurs doing Everton, and we're not the only team that have gone 2-0 up and then get beat. Like, I think me and my dad are sat there going, are you Everton in disguise at the TV for that one? No, I mean, Brighton were just, as Charlotte said, they didn't give up, and that was just, I can't get my words out. It was a very good watch, and I mean, just fair play to Brighton. They've got a good squad. They play very entertaining football, and as long as you're not against them, they're a good watch.
No, very good, with a lot of threats. But we have to flip it on its head, because the game at half-time really should have been out of sight. There was only Tottenham, to be fair, in the first half. Very, very good. Second half, just, and I think I've seen at least 4 people use the word in the chat. We all know what it is. Spursy, I think, is the description that it gets called, because it's not the first time of the years we've seen Spurs do this. They do seem to do so with many managers. And as soon as that first goal, there's some teams when that first goal went in and you still think, okay, they're going to go and get another. At Tottenham, you go, oh, here we go. Something's happening here. You could just sort of see the nervousness, the sort of crumbling kind of around it. And they've absolutely thrown one away there. I mean, in previous weeks, everyone was lauding them last weekend. They destroyed Manchester United. They beat Brentford 3-1 the week before. Arsenal, they didn't really compete too much and they lost that game. But Tottenham are now starting to put some stuff together, and it seems like every time Ange gets something together, then something kind of hits them in the gut. What do you make, Rebecca, of Spurs? Because I think they're another one that attacking look very good, but still very vulnerable. Yeah. Oh, have we got Rebecca? She's there, I think. I wasn't sure. She's back. That silence tells you everything you need to know about Spurs.
No, I mean, Brendan Johnson is an incredible player for Tottenham. Is it like 6 goals in 6 now? I mean,
great run,
him on the score sheet he's a great one. It is just one of them against Brighton. They're not really a team that you can crumble against, and they're not really one that you can decide like, oh, we're just going to sit back, like we're 2-0 up, they've got that, but you can't do that against Brighton. And I feel as though that is what Tottenham need to think is, yes, you're 2-0 up, but anything can happen from that point. So you've still got to keep up the momentum that you had in the first half. It's just an odd one, because Tottenham aren't, like, they do, as everyone said in the comments, like Spursy things a lot, but you can't do it against Brighton, and Brighton proved that and capitalised on it. And I feel as though that is the issue with Tottenham in this one, where they're able to score. They've got different players on the score sheet, but it's just not enough to go on and win it in this case.
Yeah, and while they sort of looked good, there is just always that kind of, there is that just undertone that one goal will change it. Even, to be honest, obviously last week watching the Manchester United-Tottenham game, United down to 10 men, I still felt a goal and the crowd would get into it and you felt it could unnerve Spurs. You still feel that there's that feeling about them, despite all this wonderful football they can play at times. And they've got some fabulous players in there, Kulusevski, Son, Maddison, they all work really well together. Van der Ven's been good, but I don't think he had the greatest game yesterday. I think he got caught a couple of times. I think, as Ben says, the keeper was one lucky man. There's a bit of a shambles in terms of, it was the Maddison goal, wasn't it? He should have done better with. But Spurs seem to sort of do this where they're shooting themselves in the foot. Charles, where do you think Spurs are at? Because obviously we're now in second season with Ange. The fans seem to turn quite a lot on him at the start. I've seen quite a lot of negativity at the start of the season, which went a bit quiet and is back kind of again. Where do you think Spurs are?
I feel like they're building something. I feel like, obviously, when Harry Kane left, and even Solanke now, he's scoring goals. And I think going forward, they are very good and they're very dangerous, like your James Maddison. Obviously, the lad, Brennan Johnson. I think he's fantastic so far. I think the problem with Spurs is, I don't think there's any true leaders that they've had previously. I think the defence is quite hit and miss. And I think once you go a goal down sometimes, or when teams do like pull a goal back, I don't want to say they bottle it, but I think the heads kind of drop sometimes. I think they they play quite high up as well, don't they? I know they are quite an attacking team at the minute. I feel like Ange plays them quite high up. So I don't know if that at the minute, and especially your teams like Brighton, who do have your Matomas and those kind of players, I think they were very dangerous against Spurs. And I don't know what it is. I know we've obviously mentioned the keeper, but is it Bentancur, the defender?
Thank you. Yeah.
I don't know what it is with him. I think he's quite hit and miss as well. And I just think at the minute with Spurs, I feel like they do need that bit more experience and they do need that leader on the pitch, because I feel like once the other team does press, or once they do get a goal back for the other team, the heads do kind of drop. And I think that's when they kind of panic. And I think that's when Ange kind of panics as well. And I do like the stuff he is doing with Spurs, and I think they are quite exciting to watch. But I do feel like that line that they play in the high line and the high press, it is damaging them at the back sometimes, especially against those kind of teams like your Brightons when they've got those kind of players.
Yeah, you can get punished for sure against them. Absolutely can do. And picking out, so I think Glenn makes a really good point in the chat as well. Typical Sunday game after a Thursday night away game in Europe. I think we saw that with a few teams this weekend. It was kind of the European, it did take it out of them, matches that they had. And I think also with Spurs that there was a lot of criticism that Ange didn't change things quickly enough once he started to see that the game was turning and that they were losing control of it. And I think you're right, that leader. If Ben says they're missing a Ledley King type of leader in there, I agree. I mean, I think Van der Ven is an exceptional centre back, very sort of pacey, but still raw. There's still moments I think in him where he's kind of getting to that level. I just think if you had like a real kind of rock steady leader, do you know what I mean? That kind of classic experienced defender alongside him. Where Romero, don't get me wrong, can be a top quality defender, but he's another one of those that's got...
It's a loose cannon as well, isn't it?
Exactly. You're never quite sure. Sometimes there's just something fantastic and the next thing...
Something dodgy in him, hasn't it? Like some stupid decision,
spark. Yeah, this is it. He's one of those characters where there's a moment for sure in him that they do miss, I think, that element. And the first goal proved it. I mean, Udogie's been a good defender since coming in. Done great, but you just feel there's an error. I mean, he should have cleared that one. He should never have got to Minter at the back post. And all it takes is that one error... Crowd are behind Brighton, and Brighton are buzzing forward, and then changes the game, and Brighton then pick up 3 points and up to 6th place now. Brighton up to 6th. Right? They've been a hard one. I think we all struggled with Brighton in the pre-season one because obviously they've got new manager in terms of this young lad, Herzler, coming in. You've got last season they kind of were a bit up and down. We didn't quite know what we were expecting from Brighton, and then there's a lot of good teams and a lot of big teams that we weren't sure whether they were going to come in and come through. And Brighton at the minute still seem to be sat in there. So I'm just going to look at the next few games to see when we get back from the international break. Away at Newcastle, so that's a tricky, tough one. But they might have the kind of game to trouble them. They're not always as threatening, I think, away from home, Brighton, but. Then home to Wolves, then Liverpool City. So some tough games for Brighton. We might see at the end of that run, really, I suppose, where they're going to be stuck out. So yeah, what a lovely game. Brighton 3, Tottenham Hotspur 2. Shall we move on to the next one? There's another one I've got down here because it's a team we haven't really featured too much so far this season. Haven't really done a lot so far, to be fair, so far this season. West Ham got a 4-1 win against Ipswich Town. Rebecca, what did you think of West Ham 4, Ipswich 1?
I mean, for West Ham to have 4 different goal scorers, it was a good one for them. Do feel sorry for Ipswich. I mean, went into it thinking it was going to be quite an evenly matched one, but they just couldn't hold out, and West Ham just capitalised on it. Liam Delap for Ipswich looks like to be an incredible one for them. Another goal, and it was a very well worked goal. It wasn't Ipswich's day, but fair play to West Ham. They got their first home win of the season, so it's like one of them they can get on the bounce at home. And I feel as like it was a match dominated by West Ham. I think I was looking at the stats, and it was like 23 shots with 13 on target, so it could have been a lot more. So fair play to Ipswich for holding out for that one. It was just Ipswich did have the chances, but great win for West Ham and fair play to them. I mean, was it Antonio, Kudos, Bowen and Paqueta were all on the score sheet. So it's like to see them scoring again. It's a good boost for West Ham in the end, and they did play a decent match against Ipswich.
Yeah, they definitely, as you said, really needed it, didn't they? They really needed it. Those 13 shots on target is the most they've had in a Premier League game since 2003, I think. So that's, as dominant a performance that they've had. And their attack's looked a bit, I don't know, considering the players in there, we all thought West Ham with some of the signings and what they did, it would be exciting. Kudus was excellent last season and has kind of started a bit slow, but I thought him, Bowen, Paqueta, Antonio, it linked a lot better. Bowen obviously has not been named in the England squad this month as well, so he's probably sticking a reminder out that he's still about as well. But they just looked really good. They're really good with those direct balls, and then you've got like Soucek can still be a challenge in there. So, but Shah, I know you wanted to talk about a new signing of the Hammers alongside in that centre back area. Talk to me about the West Ham defence.
Yeah, obviously we were talking off air, and I do apologise because I totally forgot that it was linked to United, so I felt like I was rubbing it in, and that weren't, I promise.
What a great defender this guy is. And I was like,
know. I'm so
we don't need him,
sorry.
Shah. Got Johnny Evans. Don't need him.
Exactly. But I think since Todibo and obviously Kilman, who I mentioned before, at the centre back, that partnership, I think they really, I know it's only been a couple of games, but that Todibo especially, I think he's really solid from what I've seen. He looks very good. I think from what I saw as well, the last 2 games that he has played, he's got man of the match. So I think a very good signing for West Ham. And I feel like with West Ham as well, they've always got, it's like the centre backs and the defence, they really rely on those kind of players. I know in the past, like you had your James Collins, you had James Tompkins and all them. So I feel like you do have the proper, obviously Craig Dawson as well, but I feel like you do have them proper like centre backs and stuff. And West Ham are one of them teams that rely on that. So that partnership, I think, will be a very good one. But I think West Ham did really need that win because a lot of people just from the squad kind of predicted them. And I know it's a long season. I know it's only like October now. But I know a lot of people really predicted West Ham to have a very good season, and they've had quite a bad start, haven't they? Considering the players they've got. And I know a lot of people are very excited because Lopetegui is now the manager, and we know what West Ham can do. But I think he was under a lot of pressure, Lopetegui, because I know West Ham are quite a hard bunch to kind of please. I know obviously we've seen that in the past, haven't we, with David Moyes and what he did at the club. So I think West Ham definitely needed that. From an Ipswich point of view as well, as Rebecca said, they did have the chances, but obviously a very tough game. And it always is a tough game, obviously, against West Ham as well, because as we've said before, as much as they didn't have a great start, they have got some very good, phenomenal players, haven't they, West Ham, especially the attackers as well. So, yeah, pretty sad from a Ipswich point of view, but from a West Ham point of view, if I was a West Ham fan, I'd be very happy with that. Very happy with that performance.
Definitely be happy. Scoring 4 goals as well, 4 different scorers, and then their first home win as well. Not just 3. They had 3 losses on home. Strangely, 3 losses at home. They're unbeaten away from home so far, but in front of your own fans.
Had a tough start, West Ham. From what I've seen, have they had quite a?
I mean, the thing is there's so many good teams in the league now. You look at it and go,
every game's tough, isn't it?
Like even things like I'm looking at like away to Fulham is not an easy game because of how well Fulham have been playing. But they lost to Villa at home, they beat Palace away, they lost to Brentford at home, drew with Fulham away, lost to Chelsea at home, drew with Brentford. I've got Brentford in there twice. That can't be right. That must be somebody else. Brighton, maybe.
That's so good.
Anyone beginning with B, maybe. And Ipswich, they obviously them 4-1. Yeah. So it's a classic win for them. As Ben says here about Ipswich have competed well against the top sides, but the games they need to be winning, they're not taking it, which could cost them. Yeah. I still think they'll be okay. Well, it's not easy to beat Ipswich Town, is it, Ben? Only the best teams beat Ipswich, as we know from last season. Excuse me. Only the best teams beat Ipswich. So what did you make of Ipswich, Shah, from their perspective? Do you think Kieran McKenna will just brush this one off and they'll go again?
I feel like they need to be fair, in the Premier League, because I feel like a bit similar with Luton, when you've got a side like that who comes up from the Championship, everyone automatically expects them to go back down, don't they? I feel so far, though, Ipswich have we've seen glimpses of them playing good football, and obviously they are scoring as well, so that's not a problem. They are scoring in games. I just don't know if they've got that quality at the minute and if they've really stabilised themselves. I know it is still early days, but yeah, it's one of them because I really want to big Ipswich up as well, because I love McKenna. I love the squad, obviously, what they did in the Championship last season. But my heart is still saying, as much as I don't want it to, it is going to be a bit like a Luton where everyone falls in love with them, but they just don't have enough to stay up. Because I feel like with Leicester as well, we're seeing Leicester like grind out results. We're seeing Leicester perform. And I know obviously Southampton as well. Southampton is scoring, but yeah, I don't know with Ipswich. I really want them to do well, but it's just telling me that they're not going to stay up.
It's going to be tough not to, because
Tough.
the last 4 games before West Ham, they're drawn. So, good in terms of getting, but you need those draws to wins can make such a difference. Yeah. And again, tough games against Fulham, Brighton. They'd be disappointed. They rescued the Southampton game, didn't they? And then they got a really good point against Aston Villa. So it's a tough one.
Yeah.
They're plucky and they're fighting. The one thing that gives them hope is if Liam Delap can keep scoring. Because if you've got a goal scorer, that's what can keep you up in the Premier League. I know Lucas always says it. Anyone down there, you need to have a goal scorer. You need to have someone who's going to pull you out of it. I think Rebecca will point to your Calvert-Lewin goals in past seasons and how important they've been to keep you up. But how do you feel about Ipswich, Rebecca? Are they one you're thinking, I'd like them to do well, but just as long as they sit below Everton at the end of the season? Is that?
I do feel as though the bottom of the table is going to be a bit of an interesting one this season, because there are I don't want this to sound bad, but I think it's going to come out the way I don't want it to. There are teams that are going to be down there that are of similar points and everything like that, and it will be an interesting one to see which teams can turn it around. No team deserves to be at the bottom unless you are playing rubbish, but I haven't seen that with any of them. Each team has their own thing and their own way about them, so I do feel as though it is going to be an interesting one at the bottom, and whether it is Ipswich that do go down, they are going to go, if they are to, they will go down with the fight. And I feel as though again it's that one win and they're off, and I feel as though that is what's going to have the knock-on effect with the rest of the bottom 3, bottom 5, however many are pulled into it again. It is going to be a very feisty one to see who goes down. I do think, I know it's only early days, but this one can go down to the last match of the season, because last season it did seem to be with Everton, there were 3 teams that were worse than us. So you had I don't want to slag off any teams, but it was one of them. We had a bit of a cushion. Whereas this year, if we were in it, I would be scared, because each team is performing how we know they can. It's just they're not picking up the 3 points, but with Ipswich, they've got a point and they have been consistent with their draws.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah, they have been, and we'll see how Ipswich go. I'd say that they've not lost too many games so far. There's enough hope. Next week after the international break, it's quite a big one because they are at home to Everton in the next game, so that could be quite a tasty encounter for sure. So Rebecca will have more to say on Ipswich, I'm sure, in a couple of weeks. Shall we move on to? We're going to head up the table, shall we? Now, shall we talk about the 3 teams that were involved in the title race, which always pains me because it's the 3 teams.
Should we just leave it? Should we just leave it? Should we not talk about the top? We love the bottom of the league. That's better anyway. Stuff the top.
We love all the fighting. Who cares who wins the title? Doesn't matter anymore. Doesn't matter. Well, all 3 of them won this weekend, so they all kind of kept pace with each other, all after European football. So Liverpool kicked off at 12:30 on Saturday and did enough to kind of beat Crystal Palace and picked up another.
That's how we've got to stay on Liverpool.
With another clean sheet. Yeah, there we go. We'll squirt over that. They've had plenty of coverage in the last few weeks of Liverpool.
Exactly.
Arsenal had to come from behind again. One good way that they are coming back, but they can't keep doing this. This early in the season, this is going to punish them. But I did want to, because I think Shah and I are both in agreement on this point. It's not always shared, I think, by everybody on the pod, but we love Bukayo Saka. I think he's fantastic person, human, all the rest of it. And he's been superb so far this season with his deliveries. It's a lot of I think he's been criticised sometimes as being a bit one-dimensional with some of his attacking play, but his delivery in particular doesn't get enough credit for me. I mean, he's got 7 assists so far this season. Last season, he got 9 in his whole season. He's scoring less goals, but he is assisting. I know some of them are set pieces, and their set pieces have been successful. That ball to, was it Martinelli at the back post?
Yeah.
Bending left foot. He's such a talent. And he commented as well in midweek, he thinks this is the year, Shah. He thinks this is the year. Is this the year for Arsenal? I know it's early days, but do you worry about these going behind, particularly as the last couple of weeks going against Leicester and Southampton as well? Not exactly top of the table team, should we say?
I don't know, because I always feel that it's a sign of a good team as well. Like, obviously, the heads haven't dropped, like obviously we've seen, and I don't want to bring them up again, and I know with the rivals, but I think that's the difference between like a team like Arsenal and then your team like Tottenham and people like that. I think with them, and we've seen it in the past with Manchester United, haven't we, as well, when they've gone behind, and then when people used to say they'd score, and then the Fergie timers, people used to say, and I think that's obviously a sign of a very good team when they can do that and they can come back. Watching the game, to be fair, even though they did go a goal behind, I never thought that they'd lose the game. I always thought, oh, they're going to come back here. I thought they did dominate the game, to be fair. I thought they had a lot of chances. And I feel like with Arsenal as well, I don't know, there's just something different about them. And I feel like Kai Havertz and the confidence he's got this season, he's really found his feet at the minute and he's scoring. I can't remember how many goals he's got, but is it like 3 or 4 goals or something?
I think Havertz is on 4 now in the league. I think he's got 1 in Europe, and he's now scored in the last 7 matches at the Emirates, which is a joint record, I think, with like Thierry Henry or something. That's how quality he's been, yeah.
And you think like when he was at Chelsea and we used to like have a laugh and a joke and stuff about Kai Havertz, but I think he's really found his confidence at Arsenal. And I feel like with Arsenal as well, what I do like similar to your Brightons and your Brentford, there's not one star man. And as much as we've said about Saka and his assists, obviously he can score goals as well. I feel like with Arsenal, it's the same, and goals can come from wherever. I think they do need that striker though. I think if they do get like an established striker, that could take them to the next level. And I've said that consistently. I think that's the only thing they are missing at the minute to take them to the next level. But I feel like at the minute, watching Arsenal, and I just really enjoy them. It's like the old Arsenal days. I really enjoy the football they're playing as well and how confident they are. And Saka, I love Saka, as we said. Like, I forgot to do my fantasy team for the last 3 weeks, and he's getting me the points. It's a fair play.
He's the saviour.
He is.
Saying the business. And to be fair, I think Heather mentions this in the chat. She says, even last year, Lucas was saying, why have we bought Havertz? Yeah, exactly. He was. And I think there's a lot of people that were on Havertz, and but most of the more reasonable ones, not all of them. You get some people that still stick by their guns, whatever. No, he's rubbish. Even though he scored 100 goals this season, doesn't matter. I'm right and you're wrong. But I think Lucas is he's seeing the benefit of Havertz, and playing him probably in that sort of further forward position is helping. And I think last couple of weeks, Martinelli coming in has helped them as well, because he's been one that they've been a bit critical of, didn't really come to the forefront in the back end of last season, not at the start of this season. Chipped up with a couple of goals now, and they certainly need him. They need that extra threat as well. And I think that balance of Martinelli's threat helps Saka as well. So doubly done. Simon says, yeah, I agree. Arteta's found Havertz's right position. I do think so, yeah.
Can I just mention as well, sorry, Sam, someone who does get a lot of stick, but I think is really like found the feet at the minute, and I want to give him credit, is David Raya, because I feel like a lot of people are quite harsh on David Raya, and I think at the minute, and just the way he is, I really like him and I really rate him. And I think obviously they've got rid of Ramsdale now, I know, but I think with David Raya and the confidence he has and things as well, and some of the saves he's made in games, like I can't remember which game it was, but for double saving it, I think I was actually on the podcast and hyped him up for that as well. But the double saves he makes.
The Champions League game against...
That could have been it, to be fair, the Champions League. But honestly, David Raya, and I feel like a lot of people are quite harsh on him. But yeah, I just wanted to give him credit because credit where credit is due. I will always do that.
Yeah, and I think he's been making good saves because they've given up some chances this season. And so save percentage-wise, he's third in the league at the minute, but Arsenal are, the best. Alisson's at the best, but I think Liverpool have been giving up some very rare chances as well. There's not a lot Alisson's had to do. He's not making as many saves as Ray is having to make, and probably harder chances as well that they're facing against. And I think, Alisson is, to be fair, he's the one that's kind of we'll see as the standard bearer. I think a lot of, general agreement is that Alisson's as top of goalkeepers. You can get in world football. But Ray has been superb this season. It's 1-1 Newport level. Kieran's on the pitch.
I know. It's doing a glare.
It's level between Brentford and Newport. But I agree. I think David Raya has had a superstar, and I think last season, a lot of criticism when you had the kind of situation where Ramsdale, I think that kind of glossed over the fact of how good a goalkeeper David Raya is a little bit, because everyone went, well, you can't have two first-team goalkeepers and it's not going to work long-term. And it hasn't worked long-term. We were kind of right in that aspect, but Raya cemented that first place for Arsenal. And you just feel in a big moment he can make a big save. The problem I find with Raya, and if everyone gets a bit like this, is there'll be a mistake and everyone will jump, oh, yeah, here we go. This is it. Goalkeepers make mistakes.
Yeah.
I've seen Alisson make a lot of mistakes in big games. At least two. I can remember 2 or 3 against Manchester City. It happens. It's part of being a goalkeeper. Even, United have been awful this season. And Arna's kept 4 clean sheets. He's actually been quite good. But because everything else is terrible, everyone will jump on. And the minute he makes a mistake again, it'll be like, oh, look at that. Here's another De Gea clip. And people like to use that against him. I think Ray gets a bit of that kind of same thing. So I think he's doing exceptionally well. He's been excellent. Another Rebecca who's in that title race at the moment. There's a team I know we won't come to you for. There's a team that I may not like the most, but Manchester City are still up there. They're obviously adapting to having no Rodri. Kovacic scoring twice at the weekend, giving them sort of something to playing kind of with Gundogan. Gundogan's back, isn't he? God, I hate the fact they got Gundogan back. He's such a good footballer. Added so much. Do you think, because they've had a couple of tricky weeks, a bit tight, lost drew at Newcastle, but Fulham are good as well. What do you make of Manchester City? Do you think they're just slowly building the juggernaut again?
Yeah, I think the Fulham match, can I just say, incredible from Fulham. What a start to the season. And to put in that performance against City and City to still take the win just shows how good City were that match. I mean, we know City aren't at the top of what they can be, but Fulham give them a game, and fair play to City. I mean, Kovacic finding his scoring boots again, incredible. 2 really well worked goals. One of them did take a deflection, but you'll give it him. And I mean, it was just one of them. Fair play to City in the end. I thought Fulham could have taken that match from them, and I was a bit gutted that they didn't.
Same.
You always love an underdog story in a way, because Fulham going into that match, they are seen as City. They'll just turn them over and be done with it. But Fulham, fair play to them, and fair play to City. I mean, it is a big hit to lose Rodri, and they are going to have moments in the season where you will notice the miss that they are facing without him, but didn't seem to phase them much against Fulham. And yeah, fair play to City.
They got the job done, and as well, fair play to Fulham going there and having a go. Fulham have been, I think, been excellent so far this season. They put us some fantastic. The 2 games they lost is to Man United and Man City, and they should have at least got a draw against Man United in that first game. I think they've been really good. Traore had some chances. We all know Traore is maybe not the most clinical when it comes to he's an absolute man beast and a disaster when it comes to threat, but not quite maybe in front of goal at times. But they've done really well as well this season. But Manchester City they're just kind of in that place where after the draw at Newcastle, you thought, oh, okay, is this because they do sometimes have a couple of games. After Christmas, it doesn't happen, but this time of season, they're not normally up quite as much as they are. Where do you sit with Shah with the whole Rodri injury with Man City? Do you think that ultimately could be the defining factor if they're an Arsenal or even a Liverpool to eclipse them?
Yeah, I think so. I think Rodri, as we've all established, is a phenomenal player, and he's kind of the glue of Manchester City. He's that player who kind of holds them all together. And I know they have superstars and stuff, but I feel like he really does control it, and he's just a massive loss for them. I feel like obviously if they could go in the transfer window and get another player like they do, they've got the money and they've got things like that. But I feel like it is a huge loss for them. I don't know what it is with them at the minute, though. And I know they've got Haaland, but I think they're actually quite vulnerable compared to previous seasons, Manchester City. And I know every season they have a couple of bad patches and then they'll put a really long win streak together. But I don't know. I just feel like with everything going on behind the scenes, I think with Pep as well, is it his last season at Manchester City? I don't think as much as I don't want them to win it, and I feel like they still have the potential to do so. But I feel at the minute my heart's kind of with Arsenal to win it, and I feel like I can see Arsenal winning it. And I know it'll change throughout the season, but I just think with Manchester City, I feel like they are quite vulnerable at the minute. I don't know what it is. I do not know what it is, and I just feel like there's going to be a little bit of uncertainty with Manchester City.
Yeah, they're in that place where I think Rodri's. I think it's massive
as well.
When it comes to the clutch moments, not having that. Not only that, how many important goals does Rodri score? Not just, do you know what I mean? Just sits there. You know, he's massive in those kind of key games. And the thing is, every season there's this kind of bit, and then Manchester City do go on that run, and we're all like, why did we even question it? We know what they're going to do. We know how they operate. And there's still some phenomenal players in there, but yeah, I don't know. I do think something's a little bit different this season with regards to that kind of challenge and that Arsenal. Liverpool, we need to wait and see. You know, I don't want to get on Liverpool because it'll be seen as me getting on Liverpool, but I think I just want to see a bit more. I want to see when Liverpool play the top 10, because to be honest, everything's been bottom half so far.
Definitely.
And they've dealt with it. No doubt about it. Done a fantastic job. I want to see how they get on against Arsenal. I want to see when they come against City, how can they play? Because, you know, they've done their job so far really well, but what level are they at? What can they get to? So, and can they? And if they can get past those challenges, then we have to say Liverpool are in the title race as well. But we shall see what happens. Big up to Rebecca in the chat as well from Bucky. Bucky is here for Rebecca. So we carry on, Char.
Do you think there's more pressure on Arsenal necessarily to someone were talking about it on a Twitter space.
This season, 100%.
I kind of agreed. And I think, do you feel that there's more pressure as well because of the Rodri injury and because of obviously new manager at Liverpool? There's more pressure on Arsenal to go out there and win it this season. And I know there has been previous, but I just feel like it with the Rodri injury in particular, it adds more pressure, doesn't it?
I think it does. I think there was the pressure anyway, because Arsenal fans are saying we have to win a trophy this season. Otherwise, what are we doing? This whole process of getting so close. So I think he's under pressure from multifacets, because realistically, Arsenal fans are expecting that they're going to jump over City in the league. They're expecting, as Graham says here, they need a trophy, which is a cup win or the league. They have to continue to go at the cups, because that might be an option for them. And Arsenal fans are expecting to be in the latter stage of the Champions League. They're expecting to be on the levels of City, Madrid, where Liverpool have been in the past, where you're competing on all the fronts going into the end of the season. And that's when it gets super, super, super tough, because then all of a sudden they may be in a case where they're like, we could win the Premier League this year. We've got Real Madrid in a quarterfinal or semi-final of a Champions League next Wednesday. And then after that, we've got an FA Cup semi-final against Liverpool or something. It can be that kind of, and it can come down to that week. And we've seen in the past, it has happened that kind of then cascades the dominoes. It happened a bit for Arsenal last season. They had stuff. The season before, it certainly did there, that kind of complete wash-off. And Arteta will be worried, I think. I don't think we worry, but I think he'll be aware of it. And he's obviously trying to build this kind of galvanizing mentality about them that when they get to that point, that they can handle those moments.
Yeah.
At the minute, they're dealing with what they've got in front of them, and I expect that they'll continue to do that. It's just when we get to the crux, that's when everybody says, right, are you going to win the title or are you not going to win the title? Can you win a cup? They can win a cup, let's be honest. You know, the Carabao Cup, the FA Cup. We won it last year, for crying out loud. It's possible. It's possible. We don't even anything can happen. Champions League is a different prospect. They've never won that in their history, even when they had the invincible team. So that's a big ask, but they'd expect to be at the latter stages, particularly beating what's their names the other day, beating PSG. And doing that well. PSG aren't quite the team that they were. So yeah, I think they're under pressure. I do agree. I think they are under pressure. Rebecca, do you see it which way? If you were to hang your hat on it now, do you think it is a 2-horse title race, or do you think there is a sneaky third team that are going to be in there as well?
I think throw Aston Villa in. I'd happily see that.
We will all take Aston Villa winning the title 100%. Right now. 100%.
Yeah. Anyone but them three, I'm happy. No, I mean
Bradford.
There's a goal. There's a goal.
Sorry, Kieran, if you're watching, but not sorry.
Yeah, I think it is going to be between like the two. I don't know who I want to see get it. I mean, it's just like a continuous one of City, but if teams can turn it round, then anyone can like throw their hat in and see what happens. So it's going to be an interesting one at top and bottom, I think.
It will be very interesting. I'm like, yeah, there's no want about it. I think last season I was happy. I was okay with Arsenal. I think I said to Lucas, look, you can have it, and you didn't take it last year. But I think the same again. For me, it's the lesser of the three of us. And just to change it up, City have been dominating, and we need something. As Graham says, and we won't go too much into this because to be honest, I know City got another win today in court. I saw there was an article, it had lots of words in it, and it had Manchester City, and I was like, I'm too tired to read that right now. So I actually, apart from knowing that City have won something and it's more bad news for everybody else, I don't know a lot about it at this point, so I won't try and blag my way through it. But we will talk about a couple more games as well. So I will stick up the graphic at this point so we can see. I've done us a new graphic for today with all the results we've got here in the Premier League from this weekend. And we can talk about one or two of the other games we haven't gone into detail. And I did promise Rebecca, I know, Graham, I know, 0-0s. Don't talk about 0-0s. But Anthony Gordon missed a penalty and Rebecca has some things to say. So I'm handing it over to Rebecca. Everton 0, Newcastle 0.
Yeah. I mean, I'm happy with the point. Heading into it, you know what side Newcastle have, and they have been quite a strong one. Maybe not in recent weeks with like the drawn loss, but it wasn't our best match, and I'll be honest with that. It was highly dominated by Newcastle. I mean, they could have taken quite an early lead through, I can't remember who it was, but what a block from Iliman and Dye. He has become one of our best players, not only like down the wing, getting shots on, but also defence, because he did the exact same against Palace last week. And he just seems to be right place at the right time. And it was just one of them, just like pinged off his left leg and just went out, and you're just like, right, thank God for that. It was annoying that Doucouré's goal was ruled offside. It was a nicely worked goal from us, and to see Doucouré score is always nice. But the penalty. Of course, it had to be Anthony Gordon to take it. I mean, what was Tarkowski thinking? And why is he pulling out WWE moves in the penalty box? I'd love to know. But you're picking Tonali up and throwing him to the floor. Don't know where that was in the rules of Dyche's match. Like, oh yeah, just go out and throw him on the floor. But no, it was like a hearts in your mouth kind of moment when Gordon stood there mouthing left and doing a couple of gestures to the Gladys Street to rile them up a bit. But Pickford, fair play, penalty save. He's first in a while. I think his last one was against Leicester a few seasons ago now. But, I mean, just the fact it was Anthony Gordon's penalty that was saved. I don't think I've ever smiled so much at a penalty being saved as I did then. I do think we should have had a penalty in the second half. And this is what has annoyed me with this match, because this could have been a whole turning point. We could have got another win, or Newcastle could have come back, because in the second half, Newcastle had so many chances, but just couldn't capitalise. I think they had 10 corners and we had none. And that, like, they were just so they were such a better team, but Dan Burton has cut across Calvert-Lewin and his leg has gone in front of Dom. So as Dom has gone to kick the ball, he has kicked Burton. But it's one of them where there's a big thing about space, and Burton has encroached on Lewin's space, and Lewin has a natural one of he's already set off to kick the ball, kicked it, and he's kicked his leg. But Burton has also got contact with Dom's foot, which was planted on the ground. So it's one of them. For me, it's a penalty. He's denied a goal scoring opportunity. So there is a lot of talk of it could have been a red as well. I mean, I'd have taken the pen over a red. But personally, and I think a lot of Everton fans are standing on that this was a pen and this could have been the turning point for us. So it's one of them where it can be viewed both ways, where Lewin has kicked Burton. But my question is, where's Lewin's leg meant to go? Because when you kick, he's not going to throw his leg behind him. It's going to go forward, and that's what has happened. So I do think it's an annoying one where we didn't get the penalty, but at the end of the day, I'll take the point, and Everton fans have annoyed Carragher, so that's always fun.
Carragher did get involved, did he, on Twitter? Some views on the penalty in the chat. Spanish fan Chris sitting on the fence with this one. Never a penalty. Calvin Lewin kicked Burn in the leg. No way in hell. He's not fancying it. And Heather is. And can we use this when we're talking about Joe Linton? Joe Linton did a very similar thing to Neto as Tarkowski did. We didn't get a penalty, she says. Classic. Simon agrees with Chris. Never a penalty. And Paul, welcome to the chat. Paul, he says, when you trip someone, you place your foot where they will put theirs. What's the difference in that decision? Definitive penalty for me. So look at that. It's all this is how difficult it is. Look, 50-50 in the chat. Graham as well. Respectfully disagree, Rebecca. It's always the penalty decisions, isn't it? They're always so contentious. I think Dan Burn is entitled to be there as much as DCL has a right to be there, not a pen for me. Then again, I thought Bruno's was a red card, so what do I know? I'm not going there with Bruno. I'll leave Bruno out of this one for just one day. This was one game he didn't get sent off in for a change. So, yeah, but a point, Rebecca, it's a point. It's a point compared to what's going on. 4 points in 2 games. That's not too bad. Look at that, rising up the table in 16th. Sean, where is Gav for Ref Watch? This is it. Gav and his official Ref Watch would have told us what he thought of the incident. And we'll go through a few of the others before we get, and I will have a quick chat about Man United before we go. But Leicester 1, Bournemouth 0 was the other one. The first win of the season for Leicester. So Heather, let us know if you want your match report, what happened from a Bournemouth perspective in that one. But Steve Cooper gets a win for Leicester.
Yes. I didn't see too much of a game, to be fair, but I feel like with Leicester, I have seen glimpses of them, and they have been scoring, haven't they, as well? One player who I do really like, I can't remember his first name, but is Justin his surname?
James Justin, yeah.
That's the one, and I feel like he's quite a dangerous player. I think he's scored this season. I know he's been assisting as well, and I feel like he's quite the player. Jamie Vardy as well. You can always count on Jamie Vardy, no matter how old he is, what league he's in. You can always count on Jamie Vardy to get your goals. But yeah, good win for Leicester. I'm not too sure, obviously, how Bournemouth performed as well. I don't know what the game was like itself, but I think it's a massive 3 points. And I think, as we were talking about before, the teams at the bottom, and I feel like these are the games that are really important, the ones who are playing each other, towards the bottom and things like that. So, yeah.
It was a good one. Heather says bit of a nothing game from the Bournemouth side. Yeah, from what I saw was just Bournemouth didn't really should have probably done better with a lot of their attacking chances. I think they were peppering a little bit, or those shots on target. I think they were too different, but they did hit the woodwork twice, and on another day probably would have put Leicester away. But yeah, it looks it's a good win for Leicester. They scored in every game, as you said, so far this season. So that's not bad. And when they've lost, it tends to be by the odd goal. Apart from that Arsenal game, they were winning in last week. So I think there's enough for Leicester's fans to feel positive about that they can potentially get themselves out of it this season and see where they're going. So first win of the season for Leicester. We had Chelsea 1, Nottingham Forest 1 as well, with one of the most funniest sending offs I've seen as well. Love a bit of James Ward-Prowse. You see that one as he dives on the ball.
On it as like gathers it.
Fantastic rugby try there from James Ward-Prowse. I mean, that's the ultimate. No, you're not going anywhere. And to be fair, he was just kind of like, you could see in his head was like, what have I done? What have I done? Yeah,
he just walked off, didn't he? He just started walking. Was like, yeah.
Yeah, he said enough is enough. I'm off for this one. Chelsea are a funny one. At some stage, we're going to have a proper chat about Chelsea, because they are in fourth. They've been scoring a lot of goals. They've been looking fantastically attacking. Cole Palmer's looked as good as anybody in the league so far this season. I know in particular Josh said they were washed at the start of the season, but they're currently in fourth and playing some good football. And I think one thing, to be fair, we don't often give Chelsea a lot of credit, but to be 3-1, Brentford are putting them away. They are putting them away. One thing I think Maresca has done well so far at Chelsea is he's not got confused, I think, with the squad. I think he's almost said, like, I'm using this bunch of players. Okay, we've got lots of ones, which is a silly thing for the Chelsea hierarchy. But he said, I'm working with these players. And he's kind of starting to find a formula that's working quite well with some of those. And he has got some talented players in that squad. There's no doubt they've got enough of them. So you'd think that they could pull a squad together. And he is doing that. So I think all the stuff about Chelsea could have been a bit premature. You know, they're in the Conference League, which they're probably going to take at a canter anyway. So it's not like they've got, where every other team is playing heavy European games, they're kind of dawdling about with that at the minute. So we can see excitement in the chat with that 3-1 scoreline coming in. Simon says Chelsea would be nowhere without Cole Palmer. Yeah, I mean, that's fair, but Cole Palmer is a tremendous footballer, and they got him. You know, they prized him away from Man City. Good God, imagine if Man City had Cole Palmer about now. We'd all be going for crying out loud.
Thank God he went to Chelsea.
At least we don't have that to contend with as well. He's just simply a phenomenal footballer. So 1-1, and another good point for Forest as well. Forest have been accumulating the points quite well so far this season. Difficult to score against as well, Nottingham Forest. So a nice point for them as well. So we come on to the final game, probably the most boring game of the weekend, if I'm completely honest. So I won't take too much. We do have to comment on it because obviously there is an international break and there's a lot of chat in the media about a certain manager's future. So we'll go from the Villa perspective first. I think less about this one, Shah, but what about that 1-0 against Bayern Munich for Aston Villa? I mean, absolutely. I was not a Villa fan. I haven't really got any sort of ties to Villa, but it just felt like there was a club that deserved that, a club that's been in the wilderness for years, and they had their moment after decades and decades away from European football. What did you think of that win against Bayern Munich?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you all know like how much I love Villa and how much I backed them last season as well. I just think I've always really liked Aston Villa and I've always respected them as a club as well. And I think they are still a massive club, aren't they? Like, they are a very big club. And I thought Emery was a perfect fit with them. I've always really liked Unai Emery, as I mentioned before. And just the whole game, like, I think it was it Pau Torres who obviously scored, but it got ruled offside. And then obviously the goal that they scored, Duran, weren't it?
Duran
the man.
Duran
the man. And then obviously Bayern were getting back in it, and obviously with Harry Kane there as well. But Emi Martinez, I mean, you know how much I love Emi Martinez, and that double save he pulled off at the end as well. And it was just one of them nights where you kind of, watching it, you kind of thought Villa are really up for this. I honestly think Villa are going to pull it off, and when they did, and it was really good to see. And especially because I don't know if anyone's seen as well, but the amount of money that they're getting charged Aston Villa fans for Champions League is absolutely ridiculous. Is it like £80-90 a ticket?
Yeah, stitch up.
Yeah, and just to see them, and obviously they're having to pay that much to watch their club in the Champions League. The first time we've watched them in the Champions League for however long. And then obviously to be rewarded like that. I mean, you think the amount of money it must have cost them and how hard they're going to have to work to kind of be able to afford a ticket. But then you get moments like that what are just priceless. So yeah, Well, I say priceless. It's not. It's like 90 quid.
90
but
quid.
you know what I
There's
mean.
your price.
But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I
Like the
was just so
memory.
happy.
The
Yeah,
memory is
exactly.
priceless
You're not
for
going to
them.
get that again, are you? So
No, you're
love
not.
that.
Yeah, but a fantastic one. And I could kind of understand from a Villa perspective going on into this game of the weekend, while they're probably a little bit flat. I mean, it's such an emotional, massive day for them. A lot of the team they put out were kind of the same. So, you know, you could see, and I saw it in their attacking. It wasn't quite, because I was worried thinking Villa play really well through the middle. We're so open through the middle. And they just didn't quite have that same kind of energy in terms of their attacking play. So I think that we kind of got let off a bit. They had a couple of chances later on, but I think a draw was probably fair in that game, actually. Like, we attacking from a Manchester United perspective, attacking was non-existent. It was absolute poop, just nothing whatsoever. Didn't look like we were ever going to score. Okay, Bruno hit the bar from a speculative free kick, but beyond that, nothing. They offered nothing really. Defensively, very good. For a change at the back. Martinez out, De Ligt out. Rotation again, but let's be honest, poor form from both of them. They were dreadful in midweek against Porto, which was an absolute crazy ass game. I think I described it in the chat on Lower League as a shit movie that I was watching, and it was very much like that. And then towards just frustration, I think, from a United perspective. It's a very strange game when you look at that game to analyse, because in isolation, draw at Villa, good, happy with it. But considering how awful we've been playing so far, we've scored 5 goals so far, and 3 of them were against Southampton. It's just nowhere near good enough. It's backwards from last season, if anything. Simon says Johnny Evans got man of the match, and deservedly so. Simon, he was excellent. 100%. Absolutely excellent. Won all his duels aerially, defensively. Each marshalled that defence at 36. There's a lot of our team should learn from it, and it just shows that Ten Hag's almost saying by the team that he's picking is that the players he's bringing in, he can't trust and he can't back, because he's had to go back to Evans and Maguire. And the best 2 players in the last few weeks have been Johnny Evans and Christian Eriksen, who together cost us less than a Fredo. We've got them both on a free transfer, and we spent 600 million elsewhere, and it's just a mess. There's just structurally things aren't quite working with the way we're attacking. Bruno Fernandes is woefully out of form at the minute. He needs a break. They need to do something. He's playing further up. It's not working. They need to change that. There's so much that they need to do. But the big question, obviously, is Ten Hag. I think United fans going into this week against Porto and Villa didn't like the look of it and thought 2 defeats and this is over. 2 wins, then maybe the narrative changed a bit, because don't forget, before these 2 games, the Tottenham game was awful from a United perspective, just pathetic. There were some positives in Porto, 2-0 up, but a capitulation. We did a Spurs until Super Maguire saved us. So I think it's a very, very interesting couple of weeks to what Ineos are going to do, because they backed him. Radcliffe and co backed him after the FA Cup final. So kind of if they now go against that, they're having to say, well, we were wrong. We've got this wrong. This isn't our guy. Ten Hag seems to be absolutely adamant that they're all on the same page, and there's kind of no inklings from his side. But it can't carry on, because we're already 7 games in. We're 14th with 5 goals, playing awfully, and it doesn't look like it's going to improve anywhere soon. And they can't lose another season by playing just absolute trash. So it's not all on the manager. The players are not performing. There's a number of players that have been way below the standard of what they produced last season. We've still got things. It seems whoever you bring in, it doesn't seem to make a difference. That's the main issue I see at the moment. It doesn't seem to make a difference. And everyone's like, when this guy comes, you're like, yeah, but structurally, it just doesn't look right. We're not conceding as many shots in the area, and then another hole kicks off over here, and we can't score a goal to save our lives. We don't look like we're going to score. Attacking players have no output. You've got Amad Diallo, been really exciting start this season. He brings Anthony off the bench, and you're thinking, how many times do we have to see Anthony come on to know he isn't the answer? Rashford, the midweek substitution, baffling. Rashford's another that questionable, and defensively in that game, he was causing us issues. But attacking was our biggest threat against Porto. Porto didn't know how to handle him. Assist and goal in that first half, and they take him off. Plenty of games where Rashford's been dreadful, over this past year and hasn't come off. So Bruno Fernandes, again, immune to a substitution. It's just things like this. You're thinking you're not helping the situation. I don't think his in-game management has helped us in certain things. But if he goes, and I really don't know, I don't think anybody really knows what's happening. Who should United get in? And that's, I think, has been the problem for United fans since before the end of the cup, since the end of last season. There is no obvious choice. So there's no one that you're pushing to get. There's no kind of push heavy to get him out, because you're like, well, who's the option? There's not a lot of options. Tuchel, potentially. Is that a long-term solution? Don't know. I've heard rumours of Simone Inzaghi the last couple, but again, hasn't managed in the Premier League. Who knows? Question mark. We'll leave the waistcoat in Marks and Spencer's. Don't want none of that. We'll leave that well alone. So I don't know. There's nobody I want. Put it that way. Who they get, I'm not sure either. Whether they do it, I don't know. So there's lots and lots of questions, but certainly we're on the end of the road at the minute. Because I can't watching Man United. I don't know what you think, Shah, from a neutral's perspective. I can't see where the change happens. Suddenly we're just going to click into gear and we'll go, there we go. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, it's a really strange one, because obviously my sister, my brother, my stepdad are massive Manchester United fans as well. So as much as I am a neutral, I do see it like from their perspective as well. And they're just getting so frustrated. But at the same time with them, they're like, yeah, it's been 2 years now. We have won. This isn't me speaking, by the way. I'm saying it from their point of view. They're like, we have won the 2 trophies, but they've not seen a consistent kind of style of play from Ten Hag, and he's not really put that stamp and that mark. And you can't really defend him in the fact like, oh, they're not his players, because they are. All of these are pretty much his players now. And it's his recruitment, and I get it from that point of view, where the frustrations with Ten Hag, and obviously they're not playing very well now, and especially this season they've been really dreadful. I was saying to you off air, Sam, weren't I? I think the only time I've seen them really perform, and I know they were 2 leagues below them, was against Barnsley, and I think they really did perform that game. And I think that was when Bruno didn't play as well. I feel like with Bruno, they need to kind of be harsh with him as well, like they did with De Ligt and Martinez. It was like, yeah, you didn't perform the previous game, so you're getting dropped. And I feel like they do need to do that with Bruno, because as we've seen, he's getting very frustrated. Obviously, it's reflecting on the pitch now as well. But it's the same again, like it has been previously, where if they do set Ten Hag, is it going to be the same cycle? So this is what I'm saying, where I can see it from both points of view, because I can see the frustrations, but then it's like, at the same time, will it be the same again in 2 years? Because I feel like with every manager that it's been 2 years, and then it's been the same again, and it's not happening. But then at the same time as well, you have got more of a structure off the pitch now, obviously with Jim Radcliffe coming in. You've obviously got the backroom staff coming in, who I think will be very good, but they can't change it like that, can they? It is obviously going to take time. But yeah, it's a very frustrating one, obviously at a Manchester United point of view. And yeah, I honestly feel for you, because it's just confusing, isn't it, at Manchester United at the minute, being a fan? I'm assuming.
It's hard to know. It's hard to know kind of where you're at, because you want to see improvement. You're not sure where it comes from. You're like, do you stick? Do you twist? Because we've seen enough of this now that telling you you're not going the right direction. But we've done this before. We sacked Solskjaer, and then we got this Ranić thing in for 6 months. The reality is that while Radcliffe and Ineos have been in a while, the CEO and Dan Ashworth, we only got them in July.
Exactly.
We haven't really seen the stuff behind the scenes settle yet. And they spent an awful lot of money. Well, not an awful lot. They spent money in the summer, not as much as we have in the past, but they've also got a lot of coaching staff, everything Ten Hag wants. So you kind of have to give that enough time. Is 7 games enough time? I don't know. And it's not, I've come from an era where we had one manager for 20 years, it's still something that you kind of don't feel comfortable about while other teams are doing crazy stuff. Simon says, just my opinion, I don't think Bruno is a good choice for club captain. he's not in the levels of the club captains we had in the past, and I think that's always part of the problem. I think Bruno does become an easy scapegoat. I think at the minute there's rightful criticism of the way he's playing. I think he's had a lot of criticism over because he's not liked by the fans because of the way they see his behaviour. There's a lot of stuff that other fans don't see as well that he does do with the younger players, that he does do behind the scenes that I think is positive. And the thing I'd always say, who's your option? If it's not Bruno, who's your club captain that's currently a Manchester United player? And the answer is none of them. None of them are captain material. None of them have that kind of clear leadership. The ones that sort of then show it, then have a mad moment, or they're injury prone, or there's nothing you can point to. There is no kind of level of what it is. So yeah, it's a difficult time. I don't really know where it's going to go, and it's been hard as a United fan last season because look at the names at the top of the league. They're the ones you're trying to catch, and they're all your main rivals really, and we're nowhere near competing with them again after the end of another cycle. So we shall see. We shall see. Bring Fergie out of retirement, if only. If only. Those days have gone. Sadly, we have to look to the future. Yeah. But the table doesn't lie at the moment. We have Liverpool, City, and Arsenal are at the top. Chelsea in fourth, Villa in fifth, Brighton in sixth. Going to that relegation zone, it's Palace, Saints, and Wolves are sitting at the bottom of the division. So, anything else on the Premier League, people? Are we done for today? Is there anything else you want to raise?
I feel like at the minute with those three, because we have to talk about them, it'd been really, really good if we could do like a PSG, cut all three teams off, make it more interesting.
Imagine, yeah. We'll let Josh host that one with Chelsea at top of the Premier League.
Oh, let's do it. Just to annoy him, we'll be like, yeah, because you weren't on last week, we've changed it up. New graphic, new table.
If we're like Manchester City, we change the rules as we go.
Yeah, exactly.
We sue anybody that doesn't like it.
We can do anything on this podcast.
Exactly. We make the rules. That's what we say. Heather, did you miss a bit about? Unfortunately, yes, we did do Brentford Wolves. I did comment on the fact that yes, your Heather is not the biggest Gary O'Neill fan. Thinks that there's some issues there with regards to Wolves. We'll see. Maybe another one. Maybe there will be a sacking in the international break. This always worries me as a graveyard. Russell Martin's another one under question. But I do know that he's actually involved in they've got a charity game with him and somebody else in a couple of weeks. So he ain't going before that's all settled. So Russell Martin, maybe the end of October I'd look towards if they do anything there. But and Oliver Glasner's another one as well. Palace have been a bit shaky so far. They're a bit of a mess.
They really miss Elise. Really miss Elise. I think Eze as well. Some of the chances, his confidence must be really down at the minute because some of the chances that he's missed this season.
He's had about 40
far.
shots. I think I saw a stat. He's had like the second highest shot so far this season. It's mad, isn't it?
It's ridiculous. So I don't know what's happening to him or whether it's a confidence thing or what, but he should be doing better. He really should.
He should be doing better. And Rebecca, what are you thinking for after the break from an Everton perspective? We'll come back to you before we finish. You've got Ipswich next, Fulham at home, Southampton away. Are we going to see you start to fly up the table?
I hope so. I mean, if we can get Jared and Mikalenko back as soon as possible, I think they're rumoured to be like 2 to 3 weeks, which is a big blow for us because you get them two back, we win a match, and then they're out for the next one. But they're like knocks that they're picking up in training. So as long as we get them two back, and I do think they are pretty intense matches. I mean, Fulham on Fulham, and then their team's quite close to us and around us near the bottom in terms of Ipswich and Southampton. And I do think there are going to be moments where we are a bit don't know about this, but hopefully the breaks come at a good time for us to get players regrouped, get them back fit and just see what happens. But I do think we could get a good few points and start getting away from the bottom and pushing to where we know we can be.
This is it. Graham reckons 6 to 7 points minimum after those games. But I mean, take Ipswich away. Ipswich are going to have a go at you. Fulham at home is not an easy one. I know it's at home, but Fulham have been good, and Southampton have got at some point scrapped for their lives. He's got to change the way they're playing. I think that's for certain there. Well, Kieran is here just to tell us it was a frustrating one. Did more than enough to get a point. We just weren't clinical enough. Please for duty, we go again. There you go. Look, there you go. Balanced. balance from our Welsh Newport County fan tonight. Will he be on Thursday? You'll have to wait and see.
Who knows?
Wait and see. Have to wait and see. But that is all of our Premier League talk. What a lovely Monday we've had, chatting about everything Premier League, which is nice because we've got a break now. We've got the international break. But do not worry, because if you're fans of football, there's plenty still to watch and to see. But of course, I couldn't have done it without the most one. And it's been wonderful having Shah back on the Premier League show. It's been such a long time since we've done a Premier League show together. Very exciting. Where can everybody find more Charlotte in their life?
Well, I am Shah XRAFC. That is on Twitter. It's on TikTok. It's on Instagram. My Her Game 2 stuff is Rochdale HGT. And of course, you can catch me on Thursday on Absolutely Lower League. So please come and join us.
This is it. You have been told. You have been told.
Finger point.
Finger point is right. Serious stuff.
Exactly.
Serious stuff. And talking of finger pointing, the queen of the finger pointing, the queen of the undershores as well. Rebecca, where can everybody find you and the stuff that you are up to?
Can find me here. _Rebecca_Shaw_. That is on TikTok and Twitter. You can find my Her Game 2 content at ASFC Her Game 2. And if anyone wants to join the fun of F1 during the break, then you can follow us at Girls in the Grandstand. And I'll also be on Thursday with Charlotte.
Why? She will be on Thursday with Charlotte. I may be on Thursday with Charlotte, potentially. There might be the option. Who knows? Who knows what's happening in this crazy world of podcasting? But you can find me if you want to follow me for some bizarre reason. I am at Sam Absolute FBL. I do have 2 YouTube channels at the minute. One is at Sam Absolute FBL, which is Premier League football, and I have at Absolute Sam Absolute EFL, which is EFL football. But I'm hoping to do a Premier League show actually on all the games, my reviews of, if I actually record it tonight, which we'll have to wait and see. That might depend how late.
Keeping everyone on the toes tonight, aren't we? With everything.
Who knows what's coming up? But one thing that we do know is certainly coming up this week. The Absolute Football Podcast. Look at all those lovely faces. What a band of merry boys and girls that we have in there. So we are the Absolute Football Podcast. We are nominated at the FCAs, which we'll come on to in a minute. Rebecca said it's over. It's over. We're one face down. It's all right because Rebecca's face is right there, top left to the one. There you go. She is
never
still
know
on the
she's
screen.
gone.
She's snuck. She's gone straight into the graphic. We are available 8:30. She's back again. 8:30 Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. We are live on YouTube and on TikTok and not on TikTok, on Twitch. What am I saying? We're live in a lot of places, but not TikTok and Twitter. On Mondays, we are of course the Absolute Premier League show. On Wednesdays, it is the brilliant hashtag Team Chaos with Absolutely Women's Football as they cover the Women's Super League and Women's Championship with Freya and the wonderful team there. And on Thursday, it is Shah and the Rowdy Rabble, Absolutely Lower League, 8:30. You can catch them as well. They talk all EFL and National League as well. We can't forget the importance of the National League. And of course, you have 1 week to vote. Apparently, I think it's end of Sunday. Sunday, the votes close for the Football Content Awards. We are absolutely humbled still. Can't believe that we've been nominated in 3 categories for the Football Content Awards. It is best new content creator, best in women's football creator, and best in non-league podcast as well. Yeah. If you could go over to the FCAs and give us a little cheeky vote, that would be massively appreciated.
I'll sing happy birthday to you all.
Exactly, Shah. You get your own personalised birthday message from Shah.
Any song you want.
This is it. Go and vote on any voice you have. You can do it multiple times, whatever makes you happy. That would be brilliant. And say if anybody is going or whatever, then come over and say hello to us on the night, and we'll it'd be lovely to meet some of you quality people that may be at the shows. So Graham's voted 6 times. Look at that.
Come on, Graham.
Get the votes in. There we go. So yes, do that for us. That would be absolutely lovely. We'd massively appreciate it. Spenny Van Chris has voted twice as well.
Sam, I've got an idea. Don't draw the cup yet. Whoever votes the most times and proves it wins the cup.
We changed the rules. This is it. Change the rules post competition. So they'll all be like, no. Won't believe it. They won't believe it, but no, I think we might be drawing it. We might be drawing the cup on Thursday. So exciting times for the mug if you're interested in one of them. got to vote for us. You've got to prove you voted as well. So many layers to get this mug. It's not an easy mug to get hold of, you know.
Date,
it's not
everything.
easy. Stamped. We want it stamped. So thank you to everybody, all of you wonderful people in the chat. Thank you for joining us on this epic Monday. We hope you have a wonderful week. We'll catch you in, next week on Monday. Don't know what they'll talk about. Probably won't be Premier League. There'll be other stuff going on, but we shall see. But for now, have a fantastic evening and week, and we will catch you on the next one. Ciao, ciao for now.